Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville and the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for being part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Podcasts, Ghana, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Candace Okin. She is going to be celebrating Mason Makes Money and telling us how important it is to teach our kids financial literacy. We are so happy that Candace is here. Financial literacy is something that's so important for everybody it's so important for everybody to be financially literate, especially our kids. And you know something, if you're financially literate, you want to take advantage of great values. And I have a great value for you. My live school assembly program, We Will Roar, Respect Others and Read. We are offering a limited number of absolutely free virtual performances of this show to schools, classrooms, daycare centers, libraries, you name it. If you have a group of kids together who would like to experience some great magic while also being inspired to respect everybody in their life and to read, well, you want to take advantage of this. Like I said, we are giving a limited number of free virtual visits and presenting this wonderful, wonderful program via Zoom to kids all over the world, and we would love to come into your community. All you need to do is to go to our website, wewillroar.com. Joining us right now from Houston in the great state of Texas, she is a debut author celebrating the release of her first book, Mason Makes Money. Please welcome to the show, Candace Okin. Candace, how are you?
I'm well. I'm excited to be here. Hello, everyone.
I'm real excited to have you here, too. Mason Makes Money. We hear that word money, and we're thinking about finances, and many people don't put two and two together. But one of the things that's real important for our families to do is to talk about finances and to help our kids become financially literate as early as possible. That's my thinking. What about you? When do you think we should start talking to our kids about finances?
Oh, as early as possible. I certainly agree. But something else to note is the ways in which we indirectly teach our children about finances and about money, because we can sit down and we can talk to them and, we can educate them on the specifics and the fundamentals, but they're also watching us. And so we have to be very careful and conscious about how we handle our own finances, because they are watching us and they will do what we do.
That is so beautifully stated. There are a lot of families out there that's like, oh, my kids, it's too early to talk to our kids about this stuff. But yeah, as you just said, we are actually talking to our kids every single day with our example. Whether it's modeling a love of reading by sitting down and letting our kids see us read every day, or the way we're spending and interacting with money. So this is really, really important, and I'm so glad that you stated that right up front. Tell us about the story of Mason Makes Money. What's this story all about?
Yes, so Mason is a resourceful second grader, and he realizes that one of his classmates is in trouble and she needs help and she could use some extra money, and he's trying to figure out ways in which to help her, and he decides to build a business. It's a dog washing business, and in the process of building his own dog washing business, he's having to understand terms like income and expenses, and he's having to learn how to budget, and he's having to learn how to save, and all of those good things. So in the process, children, through this book, children are being exposed to fundamental concepts of not only financial management, but also of entrepreneurship as well. And that is the premise of this book.
It also sounds like we're talking to kids about empathy and caring. I mean, Mason is motivated to create this new business to help his friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is one of the three main points that I really wanted to drive home with this book. Number one is to be kind. Number two is the power of choices. And number three is, even though he's having to learn these concepts through his business, these are concepts for life, because budgeting and income and expenses and all of these are things that you have to know to be a functional adult, in the real world. So, yes, absolutely. Being kind and being empathetic is definitely a point that I was driving home as well.
And I think that's really important, because I'll be very honest with you. When I was a young person, about 100 years ago, and I was in high school and college, it was I wanted to change the world. I wanted to help people. And so I was looking to get into social work, and I got into social work and human services right out of college. And I really looked down on people involved in business, and I thought that was really kind of greedy, and you weren't thinking about other people. And it was very naive, because I didn't understand that when you start a business, that's an incredibly wonderful way to help people, because you're giving them, you're creating jobs, you're creating, giving people purposes in life. And that was a lesson I didn't learn until I was probably in my 30s or so. And talk about an eye-opening experience. I was like, I should have learned this when I was a kid.
Right. Right. It's all about your intention, right? Because you can take the best things and use them for, not good purposes. And the same goes, I feel, for, like as you said, business. I felt the same way. I thought, people who started their business are self-absorbed, or they're greedy, or, just all of these terrible notions that are certainly untrue. And so I feel like the power of choices, what I'm trying to drive home in the book, I feel kind of speaks to that as well, that you can use, these things and use it to better your community and the world around you. And I'm hoping that children do pick that up in reading this book.
Candice, what motivated you to create this book?
What motivated me, I lost my job last year. In full transparency, I lost my job last year. And I was immediately conscious to how my son, who was watching me, how he would pick up the way I reacted to a financial hardship. And so in trying to rise to that test as best as possible, I wanted to just write some fundamentals about money management down. Writing is always a very natural and safe voice for me. And so I wanted to write that down. But also do so in a way that other kids can take these concepts as well. So to be honest, I was having him to learn from my mistakes. That was what motivated me, was some of the mistakes that I made in not being as prepared for such a hardship. And I wanted to alleviate that from him and really build a firm foundation for his future relationship with money.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because early on in the show, you reminded us that we are actually talking to our kids about money every single day by our actions. And I love the fact that you're very honest with your son, and you're reminding us that our kids can learn from our mistakes.
Right.
One of the things that I always advise young parents, when they come to me and they ask me for advice, is I tell them, let your kids know that you're not perfect. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, because so many parents, I think there's an instinct to try to keep yourself, our kids look up to us, they put us on a pedestal, and I think we feel it's our responsibility to appear to be perfect and to always know the answer. And that's a really hard position to be in. It's very unrealistic, and you can't keep yourself up there. So I think the earlier our kids find out that we're fallible and that we can make mistakes and we can learn from our mistakes, and they can do the same, I think that the earlier they can learn that, the better.
Absolutely. Because even as the superheroes that we are to our children, we're people. Mm-hmm. We're people, and so I think it is a good thing to teach our children, the children that we have around us, that hey, it's, you're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect, but how do we respond to those mistakes? And allowing the kids to see that, I feel like, is very, very important, to your point. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the fact that when you lost your job, one of the things that you discovered and that you shared with your son is the fact that you didn't have that nest egg that people talk about, that, savings so that you can survive for 6 months or so. And that's true of lots and lots of families out there. What other kind of things are important for our kids to know at an early age?
Strategy. I think money management. I mean, you can make money all day long, but how do you manage your money? And just like anything else in life, you need to plan and you need to strategize. So a couple of things that I was sure to do last year, and I wanted my son to be aware of, is I started implementing money meetings with my husband. And we would sit down once a month and we'd go over everything, and we'd review the month before, and we talk about the month, that we're in, and the month, that's coming up, and we would strategize. There are a lot of things, not to go down the rabbit hole, but when you talk about credit scores and you talk about, things like that, all of that is they're tools for your plan. They're tools within your strategy. So I would really encourage parents and children to do a lot of reading and to implement all that you can, all that's at your disposal within your plan and strategy. I think it's very important to money management.
I know when I was growing up, my parents had this little envelope system, when they got the paycheck, and they would bring home the physical cash. And, so they knew they needed X amount for the rent, and they know they needed, so much for electricity. And so they actually came home at the end of every week, and they put cash in an envelope for rent and an envelope for electricity, so that they had this money. Mm-hmm. And so you could see it, it was there. It was this thing. But nowadays, kids don't see. I mean, when I present my educational magic shows, sometimes I'll use coins, and I'll take out a quarter, and I'll ask the child, "What's this?" And sometimes they don't know, because they don't see physical money that much anymore. It's all these cards, and it's this plastic thing you put into a wall, and all of a sudden a machine spits money out. Do you think it's more difficult for kids to actually understand that there's a limit these days because of because money's gone digital?
I am just like your parents, first and foremost. I love being able to, tangible. I like to be able to put my hands on things. I did the envelope system. I loved it. I do think there's a bit of a learning curve, but I feel that, it does not have to be difficult. These kids these days, 2- and 3-year-olds know how to completely operate an iPad. It's crazy. So I know that there has to be ways in which to engage them and to teach them in the digital age. So like I said, even though for us, it may be a bit of a learning curve, but I feel like there's a solution to everything. And I feel that kids should be able to, and I'm sure they are able to be able to rise to that well.
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about here on the show, we have talked about financial literacy on a few episodes. One of the things I don't think parents understand is that we are talking to, in addition to the ways that you've mentioned through our example, that we're talking to kids about money through the way that we handle money and the way they see us handling money. We're also talking to kids about money in that we're talking to them at a very early age about college. And you've got to go to college. You've got to get good grades so you can go to college. College. So they're hearing this, and they're knowing that they need to go to this thing called college. But we're not talking to them about the fact that someone got to pay for this thing called college, and they don't understand how much this thing called college costs. And until, you're talking about your 2-year-olds who are handling iPads, and just 16 years later, that same 2-year-old is going to be faced with making a decision that could burden them with, a student loan of $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. And they're asked to make that decision as teenagers, really young teenagers. So I think it's so important that we start talking to kids about money and about that thing called college and how much it costs at a really, really early age.
Absolutely. I could not have said that better myself. My husband and I are actually saving for our son through a 529, which is a strategy. And that, will help to pay for his, education. But, the system, and not to talk down on the education system because I have 2 degrees, but it is really, it depends on ignorance. Mm-hmm. And so if we are not teaching our children ahead of time what all higher education encompasses financially, we're setting them up to fail. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Point blank, period. And so it is very important for them to, are we talking to them about scholarships? Are we talking to them about grants and things like that, so that they can try and come out of college with as little debt as possible? Yeah. Because that is one of the biggest killers of wealth accumulation for my generation is student loan debt. Yep. Yeah. And so. Mm-hmm.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I think another thing that we need to talk to our kids about, is that strategy that you're talking about, and what are you going to get when you go to college? When my daughter was looking, we took that college tour and visited a bunch of colleges with my daughter when she was a junior in high school, and we just happened to have an international student living with us, and she went on that tour with us, and she was from Italy, and she was in medical school, and we're going around and we're seeing these palatial colleges, and every tour they took us to the rock wall and to the cafe and this and the laundromat that texted you when your laundry was done, and the rooms with this and that, and the Italian student turned to me and said, "Where's the lecture halls? We haven't seen any labs. What does a rock wall have to do with college? I don't get this." And so, going back to your point about making a strategy, asking our kids, what is it that we really want out of college? Do we want to go to, Disneyland with classes? Or do we want to go to school and work real hard and come out with the education we need to be successful and happy in life? Right.
And also really plant those seeds early on in terms of, because college is also a strategy. Mm-hmm. And so plant those seeds early on so that you're not going to, I remember when I was in high school and they would come to our classrooms and talk to us about college, and a lot of my classmates were like, I don't know what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have no idea. I know I have to go to college, but I don't know what I want to go for. I don't know, I don't know how it's going to be useful in my life because I have no idea what I want to do. So, another thing that Mason Makes Money I'm hoping to achieve is to encourage kids to explore themselves. See where their curiosity takes them and what they're naturally interested in, and help them to promote that within themselves so that they kind of have some direction when they get to that college stage, so that, hey, I'm going into college because I want to be a surgeon and not because I want to be a lawyer because I don't know. It just seems like the thing to do, Yep. You want to encourage kids to find something like a purpose that sets their soul on fire and invest in that. So that's another, that's something else that I'm hoping to achieve with that.
I love that. Helping our kids understand, that college is a way, is a means to an end. It's a way for us to find our passion, to do that thing, to make a living doing that thing that makes us happy and brings joy to our souls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, our times changed so much. When I went into college, I went into school to major in journalism, and print journalism was on its way. It's like a sleigh ride down. Just going down. Everything was going digital, and, everything was about, digitizing everything. But the purpose in terms of writing was still there. Mm-hmm. And so you don't want to come out of college having paid, exorbitant amounts of money, and you don't know what you want to do. You don't want even to do what you've come out of college with this degree for. You want to be able to, it's okay for kids to know themselves, understand themselves, and then invest in that. Yeah. One of the, mm-hmm.
No, I am agreeing with you. You are preaching to the choir here, and I hope people are hearing this. Please continue your point. It was beautiful.
Oh, yes. A parent asked me about, how to talk to kids about making money. And I said, of course, doing chores and having them earn money through chores is, a very popular one. But hey, if they have a natural curiosity about cars and your uncle is a mechanic, how about you have them shadow your uncle and have them make some money doing that? Mm-hmm. See where their curiosity and their what they're saying, and have them to be within that, to say to them, you can make money doing the things that you love to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, just kind of find ways to, kids are so open, and they're so ready to do anything. They're so ready to try anything. Explore with them. It doesn't have to be a system of, just super structured or super rigorous. Kind of explore with them.
Absolutely. This is a great point. And Candace, this idea of shadowing your uncle or your friend, the neighbor that's doing this job, it's not a revolutionary idea. The idea of apprenticeships and, mentoring, right. It's age old. And it's something that we moved away from, and I think it's really, really smart for us to move back towards those tried and true traditions.
Absolutely, I could not agree more.
Hey, Candace, now that Mason Makes Money is out there, have you caught the Kidlit bug? This is your debut book? Are we going to find more books coming out from Candace Okin?
We will. Yes, you will. I have another book that I am wrapping up, and it is about another young boy who is moving from Texas to New York in pursuit of a better life with his family, and he's having to, because it's such a huge journey, he's having to find the courage that's within him. So he likens himself to a superhero, and his name is Joseph the Great. That is coming soon, perhaps sometime next year, and I've got a couple of other things under my belt, so stay tuned, everyone.
That's wonderful. Well, I know you have a great website. Let everybody know where they can find your website and what other places folks can connect with you online.
Sure thing. My website is Candace, CANDACE, Okin, OKIN.com. You can pre-order Mason Makes Money there. You can also find me on Twitter at Candace Okin. You can find me on Instagram at Candace.Okin. And you can find me on Facebook at Candace Okin Books. And I believe that's it.
Awesome. Well, we've had a great time speaking about financial literacy and how important it is for us to talk to our kids about money at a very early age. And we've been doing that through celebrating a debut book, Mason Makes Money. We've had a great time speaking with the author, Candace Okin. Candace, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It was so fun. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Tina Shepherdson. We hope to see you there. If you're the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. being a guest. It's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell the world about your fantastic book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button that you'll find at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We'll let you know the next easy steps. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Candace Okin. Be sure to check out Mason Makes Money. Also want to thank my incredible team, starting with my producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my incredible and amazing daughter, Alejandra. Of course, I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. But most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.